Hi, my name is Dr. Derek Hassert, and welcome to Cognitive Psychology. Cognitive psychology is the branch of psychological science that focuses on the way people perceive things, the way people think about things, the way they organize knowledge, and the way they remember things, or sometimes the way they misremember things. Cognitive psychology is one of the newer official branches of psychology as a science, but it is also one of the oldest in terms of what it talks about. Psychology has always, as an area of inquiry, tried to examine what's going on inside the mind of the organism. Now, the reason that cognitive psychology is kind of new is because there have been several paradigm shifts in psychology over the last many decades since psychology's inception as a science in the late 1800s. One of the approaches to psychology, as you probably remember from Introduction to Psychology, was behaviorism. And behaviorism focused on the role of external events in shaping behavior, reinforcements and punishments, and associations between stimuli. And the two main areas of learning covered in behavioral psychology were classical conditioning and operant conditioning. And individuals such as B.F. Skinner and Pavlov are tied to the behavioral school of thought. And Skinner and others who followed him believed that all human behavior could be explained via recourse to just looking at the learning history of the organism. What happened to the organism? What were the external events that shaped the organism? However, there were some behavioral psychologists, such as Edward Chase Tolman, who you'll learn about, who began to realize that animals could learn without being reinforced. Again, they could learn without explicit reinforcement. Now, this might seem kind of obvious to us today that we learn things passively, and it's only when we need to use the information does that learning come out. But that really flew in the face of classical and what we might call orthodox behaviorism. So Edward Chase Tolman provided that bridge between behavioral psychology and what we now know as cognitive psychology. One of the other things that gave rise to cognitive psychology in the 20th century was the rise of computers, or computational encoding of information. The idea that you could take information and you could put it into a machine and then take it out of the machine again. Well, if machines could do that, why couldn't human beings? So the computer metaphor or model of human cognition came into vogue, and it's still very popular. When we use terms like encoding or recall, we are using terminology that comes from computer science. That also points to the interdisciplinary nature of cognitive psychology. You will see textbooks that are called cognitive neuroscience, and in our class we will talk about cognitive neuroscience. That is the overlap between the methods of cognitive psychology and neuroscience, examining what areas of the brain become active when we perform certain tasks. And really, most of these experiments support the findings that have come from cognitive psychology, the idea that there are different areas of the brain that are engaged in different types of information processing. So that would be cognitive neuroscience. And on the other hand, there is the use of computers to model certain systems of the mind. And sometimes that's called computational neuroscience or cognitive science. And sometimes people use the term cognitive science as an overarching umbrella term to really embrace cognitive neuroscience, computational neuroscience, computer science, and how computer science might be used to model human cognition. So it's a fascinating topic, and it, like quite a few other things in psychology, it reaches into many different areas. There are clinical applications for cognitive psychology. There are applications in education and development. And there are applications as well to the judicial system and the criminal system, and we'll learn about all of these elements during this course. I hope you enjoy the course, I hope you benefit from it, and I hope you take much of what you learn out into the world to hopefully see the world around you and the way you think in a new and different light. Thank you.